So I'm going to take you through our journey or our story over the last couple of years, and take you through, first of all, why we did what we did, and then what we did and how we did it. And then I will take you through how we've started using AI and how that came about and what we're doing with that. So it's kind of two parts to this. OK, Daily Mail Group. So just who are we? It's only one slide on who we are. So Daily Mail Group is, you'll probably know it as dailymail.com in the US. We're a newspaper and website, but we're part of a larger group that's got two other papers, Metro, the I paper in the UK, and the New Scientist magazine, which is in the US as well. We've got, at the Daily Mail alone, 5,000 stories are done per week, over 1,000 journalists throughout the world. So we've got places, headquarters in the UK in London, but then Dublin, Glasgow, New York, LA, Sydney. So we've got people all across the globe. And although we say we're 24/7, that's 365, not 36, 24/7, 365, those newsrooms operate a kind of 18-hour day themselves. So we cover many, many hours. There is no downtime any day of the year, any hour of the day. So the problem we had, so in terms of why we did what we did, at the Daily Mail Group, you've got not only many papers, you've got many desks within each newsroom, and there was no single way of working. There was no visibility of content, so different teams would operate in different ways, and everyone would organize things that made sense to them. So it wasn't that a desk would work in a bad way, it was just that they wouldn't share information with the desk that was next to them, so even within one newsroom, but certainly between New York, LA, Sydney, London, no one really had a clue who was working on what. So that was fundamentally what we wanted to try and solve. So this was our mantra became, there will be a single view of everything. So before Airtable, where we had many different tools, and different desks would just spin up different things, people like Trello or Google Sheets. So we had many Google Sheets done by many different departments, even though we were not a Google-based workspace. So different people would work in different ways. Our vision for Airtable was that we wouldn't go and replace all of our content management systems, and we have many, but instead we would integrate our print CMS, our web CMS, our analytics, and we would pull those all into a single view. And that was what we pitched to the teams. OK, so we went on a tour, and I'll talk to how we came about this view and how we pitched this internally. But just to explain what we built was we said everything must start in Airtable. So that was a mandated workflow whereby and we learned this really from other titles. The New York Times said, mandate the way you work. Don't give people a choice. If you give them a choice, they will go and do their own thing. Not out of malice or spite, it's just people like to work out their own way of doing things. So we mandated everything must start in Airtable. And that's become the most important thing that we say to anybody, start it in Airtable because then everything connects together. So what we built, I'm going to give a run through a very quick tour of our interfaces and what we've built. Everything runs in the interface. So we have many pages, as you'll see from here. This is the Today view for the UK Online, giving a view of all the stories that have been worked on. This is how an article is added. So people add an article. Donald Trump having a go at the BBC. breaking news, it needs legaling, because he will sue us. And then that gets created and it goes into the workflow. We've got a very large size sheet where we use the anchored tabs, where we have a task workflow for picture tasks. This is our web CMS, so it integrates with our web CMS, pulls all that information back in real time. People can add notes in here. Here's a sport desk. They can add picture, video, graphics requests, and that goes then into a workflow for the picture team. They can add attachments in here, and they can put a priority on that. Those picture tasks were all done in a different way previously with different requests in Slack and email. This now all comes into a single view for the geo teams working on it. Here's the Australia desk. They use comments a lot, and I think that's the end of that section. The comments was a really interesting part for us. We didn't, having said we mandated this is the way you must work within Airtable, but the commenting part was an area we use Slack heavily, we use email heavily, and we let the teams evolve with that. They naturally started using the comment area within Airtable because it kept all the information connected to that story in one place. Okay, the build by the numbers. So this is where we're currently at. We have currently, actually, almost 1,200 active users. So those are editor users, and then we've got about 700 who are read-only viewers. There are 15 org units. So an org unit for us, and the reason I was keen on putting this in here, I think one of the things that we've got right is the way we structured it. And so we have an org unit of Daily Mail editorial, sales, HR, Metro, So we've now got 15 org units on Airtable, which allow us to then break it down by workspaces. Over 100 bases. Daily Mail editorial base is one of these bases. It is the largest base in there, but within there, I think the things I would pull out are 296 pages. Yes, too many pages, but that's how we've built that. Only 4 integrations. So 4 integrations being with our web CMS, our print CMS, our analytics, and then I kind of grouped Slack and email together. So those are very, very powerful. So there are only 4 integrations, but the automations, a lot of automations, and you'll see one of those in a minute, the automations power everything that's driving through that. Shout out to Airtable's professional services team. We could not have done this without them. So, and you'll see on the timeline, we did this very quickly, but they helped guide us through this. They did try and persuade us not to have 296 pages, but we said we were right. Okay, into the weeds. So I'm just going to run through fairly quickly. This flies through, but I'm going to run through how we've set some of this up. So within the Daily Mail workspace, there are 6 spaces there. We've got wires coming in as well. This is our global live homepage, so every story as it goes live appears in there. You've got links out to the website with hantavirus, rat virus stories everywhere. We've then got calendars that we've put in so people can plan events with calendars. Sandbox, this is our test area. The sandbox came along whilst we were building. It's the rock star feature, I like to say. I do not know how we would do this without Sandbox. We've got a people table. That's my details in the people table, which is connected with Azure, so for onboarding and offboarding. And then this is just an example of outbound rules. So this connects to our web CMS, and we can categorize content and feed it down at a small channel level. And this just shows, no one uses this view really, it's a search view, but I turned everything off to show this is all the updates that come in by the second or many seconds. So this is all of the activity that is currently taking place. Now, this isn't all creating stories. This is getting a lot of data from the analytics that are dropping in, and so it updates in real time. For very techie people, we have rate limited the API by building a proxy outside that then feeds the data in. Okay, how we got here. So the buy-in became our most important part of this whole project. And I always, when we started the rollout, said the thing that I think got us to where we were at the speeds we did was we spent that time up front talking with both the editor-in-chief, CEO, and the owner of the company, who then spoke to Howie and all the Airtable team, but also from the bottom up. So we had a look at the way we work across the organization. We heard all the gripes and the pain that everybody was suffering. And so we built, during this time, a team of champions or super users. And we spoke to them and said, what should we do here? And this was how we were then able to pitch that we need a tool that sits above everything. And we did a discovery tour around a number of newsrooms, looking at the way they worked, and finding out how should we pull all this together. Our timeline, so as you can see from this, the time to actually buy the product took longer than building and rolling it out. So that is a painful experience, but I think it sets you up so well for understanding what it is you're trying to achieve, why you're doing it, and getting all of your organization to buy into that. So we started building April last year. So we are new to Airtable. We have only been on this just over a year. I said we'll go live in July. So we went live on July the 31st. So we hit that date. And then we quickly rolled out across London, the US. The iPaper we did in parallel, then Australia, Ireland, and we've just gone live with Metro. And Metro is where we're using quite a lot of the AI stuff. We're not quite done, but we are almost what I would call at our foundation level. What worked well? So there are some good things. So super users as champions, I think getting that in place and getting people to feel they're empowered and they're involved in the process has worked really well for us. It's also allowed us to scale it out. So as you get to 1,000 users, you cannot take all those requests in. We're a team who've rolled it out, was 5, then it's become 4. 4 people who are in the project team building and rolling out. You can't do that unless you've got a good team of champions around you. The prototypes before perfection. So during that build phase from April to July, we went through, we called 1 a beta, and then we moved to prototype, which confused everybody. But we went through 4 prototypes, 1 beta and 3 prototypes, which allowed people to play with it, try it out. We were trying to figure out, do we need 265 pages? It turns out we thought we did. And therefore, that came through that prototype process, whereby people could try things, play with it, give us feedback. The training we did was really short. So it was a 1-hour session with 6, ideal number was 6. Sometimes we would have 8 or 9. We tried to do it in person where we can, and we would do that back to back. And that allowed us to rattle through teams. They would leave the room and start using Airtable straight afterwards. So it was, come in, learn how to use it, go back to your desk. And that was because we'd had the super users using the prototypes. And we said, this is what everyone's doing. And then the good was, it was a fast-paced rollout. The bad was, it was a fast-paced rollout. So the team, our team, would endlessly say, oh my God, can we take a breath? And building in that time to reflect and make changes, I think we would want to do that slightly differently to allow you to change even after you're live and say, actually, have we got this right? So build in a feedback loop early, get that feedback, allow people to go through, and keep your updates coming through. So maintaining that update cycle is really important. So you don't build up, if you're using Sandbox, don't build up 50 or 60 requests that you haven't quite got round to validating. Do little and often. Okay, so what that has enabled us to unlock. So that was kind of phase one, if you like, of let's get this out. During the rollout, we then started to see how people were using it and the requests that were coming in. So I'm going to run through 3 use cases of where AI and agents are starting to be used. The first of these was, we said during the rollout, we did not want to be sidetracked. It was not core to the problem we were trying to solve, was not around using AI. That was not the problem we were solving. We wanted to get all of our data and all of our workflows done in a consistent way. What the news desk came back and said, hey, we've got all of this now. Why can't we just have a summary of all these stories that are running online so that the print team, the print news editors, could come along and just have a 100-word summary. Yes, more on rat viruses. So they want a summary of every story that has been lifted without having to read through the whole story that's running online. So we just switched on, okay, you can have that. The important thing for us of that was, it was one of the first uses of AI within the newsroom, and it came from the newsroom. It wasn't us pushing it. They were saying, surely you can just do this. The model we used was Claude Sonnet, as you can see there, and it's a very simple automation that just takes the story, takes the input, and outputs a summary. Spell check bot has become a bit of a sensation in the organization. So again, really simple to do, but as every story goes live, it goes through fact checks, grammar checks against style, and outputs that to a public Slack channel, and shows the reporters what is wrong in their stories. So this is going to show how this is built. We look at every story as it goes live from the web CMS. It takes that into a very large automation, takes in the prompt, through the prompt, takes in the body copy and the headline. We're using 4.5 Opus, and it then updates the record. Now, this find records is really interesting. It allows us to scale out the number of Slack channels we feed this to. This is the UK list, so we've got hundreds of Slack channels. It then sends a message to the assigning editor saying, this has gone live, and here's the reporter who's done it. It then also sends an email, which people can optionally use. And then for each geo, if it's got errors in the story, it posts that into the general UK Slack channel and gives all the errors. It also sends it to the relevant desk, which is hundreds of, well, not hundreds, but dozens of desks, and which it's got from the table, and it also messages the reporter. So you've got a message being targeted and alerting different people, and then it does that for every single geo. So it does it for the UK, the US, AU, and by desk. So every geo and every desk get the relevant story highlighted to them. And then if there are no errors in a story, we have a tick, and where it's got a tick, it will then only send that the story has gone live to the channel, but doesn't alert the reporter. So it's kind of good for them. What this spell check process has highlighted is, again, it was a very simple automation, but the profound impact that's had on the newsroom in terms of understanding, A, how we're using AI, but also the importance of human in the loop in this process. So these are some examples where actually what it's flagged are incorrect. So Prince Andrew, he's not great, so he has been stripped of his titles, and therefore he's no longer a prince. But the Claude is still telling us he is, which is not correct. Rihanna, I love this example because it says Rihanna did not sing Take a Bow. This is a Mariah Carey song. She sang Take a Bow with a lowercase a. Obviously, it's nonsense. The Mariah Carey is because there are a load of mashups on the internet, so now the AI thinks that Mariah Carey is singing this song instead of Rihanna. And this is where a footballer no longer is said to not play for this club because he hasn't moved. So the importance of having the human in the loop of this means that it gives, A, the confidence to journalists that these are the things that they should be checking. Okay, final one this is where, kind of taking it on a step, we are now taking wire copy and using the AI trim process, which I'll run through, to cut copy to fit a page slot. So we've got all of our wires coming in. PA is Press Association. We've got stories in here, another not taking rat story. And we fetch that story to use in print in the paper. So that will lift the story. It tells us where that's gone. It's gone to the paper. And then down in the paper page, this is on Metro. It's got a story there, and we can then assign this story to a page. So this is linked to getting the planning information from our print CMS. So that feeds in, and it tells you here's a slot available on the page. It needs to be 149 words. Currently, this story is 409 words over. Therefore, use AI to trim that story to fit that slot. That story then goes through, and it flags to the user what has changed. Now, the new entities added there is using just doing a check against all the text to say, has anything changed in this story? Has it introduced new text? And which quotes have changed? The original quote had a longer one, then it's chopped it back. We then put in a catch line, and we can then send that through to the print system. That's now attached that to a print page in a print system in that slot on the page. And that's a cut-down story. So celebrate the AI wins. This is around how do we build confidence within the team. So the AI spell checker has become, it's a really simple thing to do, as you saw. But that has become, across the newsroom, the thing that everybody wants, and saying, OK, what else could we do with this? So we're saying, here's this. They're coming back and saying, this is great. What else can we do? When can we add a showbiz channel? Hey, journalists do not like using new tools. To get this kind of feedback from people is kind of incredible. OK, we are not done. So July is our target to complete. We've got 9 Irish websites to do, plus the New Scientist, and I'm saying let's try and get this all done by July. So within 12 months, we will have had the whole organization at that foundational level. What's happening now is that, as you've seen both from the newsroom saying, can we have these features? It also now is being used in the sales and marketing team, in HR. I'm saying we're an editorial program, but it's now moving into other areas of the business because they've started to see how we're using this. And our big next goal is to do video and image integration. So we'll start to getting pictures and videos associated with those same stories. So you've got a complete content package. And that's me done.